What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Watch It in Action. I'm BouseFeenux, and today we're going to be taking a look at this weird-ass pair of weaponized unicorn horns. Cut. Now, all joking aside, we're going to be taking a look at the Spira Prime today, which was just released with the Spira Prime access. Spira Prime features high puncture damage, the highest critical chance of all throwing knife-type weapons, and high critical damage multipliers. Now, compared to the regular Spira, you'll notice that the weapon does have an increase in critical chance and critical damage multipliers, but that's going to come at the cost of a lower base damage than the regular Spira. Like other throwing weapons, the Spira Prime also has sort of an innate punch-through that allows you to penetrate straight through enemies, allowing you to hit multiple targets if they're standing in a line. This weapon is also silent, which is really nice for those stealth missions. Conversely, though, Spira Prime isn't without its shortcomings. Compared to other throwing secondary weapons, the Spira Prime does have a slow fire rate, and it also shoots in an arc, which can make it difficult to use effectively at long distances. On top of that, it also has a travel time, but you can get around that by using a Turbulent Zephyr or, some other projectile speed enhancement. Lastly, it does fire from two slightly different angles, which is another awkward mechanic, and you throw a knife from your left and right hand, so you always have to really kind of adjust your shots to achieve consistent headshots, which, being a crit weapon, you should be able to achieve reliable headshots, and that's kind of one of the things that really hurts this weapon a lot, is not being able to get those consistent headshots. But all of that aside, I've gone ahead and put together a build for this weapon, so let's take a look at that. To achieve the build that we're looking at here, you're going to need about 4 Forma into this thing. It does come with a couple polarities already, which is nice. I believe it comes with 2 Y poles. Super awesome there. That's going to help you out a lot if you can't invest Forma into this thing right away. It's going to allow you to put some of these more expensive Y polarity mods on there from the start with just a catalyst, but if you're planning on maxing this out, I recommend at least 4 Forma, and that'll give you the option to do just about anything you want to do. So, taking a look at the mods here, this is a pretty standard secondary crit build we got going here. We got Hornet Strike. It's going to give us a huge boost of damage, and then we've got Lethal Torrent and Barrel Diffusion, just for some multi-shot and extra fire rate. Prime Target Cracker and Prime Pistol Gambit are going to be our 2 sources of crit. We're going to get our critical chance from Prime Pistol Gambit and our critical damage from Prime Target Cracker. If you can't get the primed version of these, that's okay. Use the normal ones, but just know that they're not going to be as effective. So you definitely want to try to get these primed versions whenever you can. If Barrow has them, make sure you buy these because you're going to be using them on a lot of different weapons. As for our Elemental here, this is a Puncture crit weapon. I'm not going to be using this against Corpus targets that much because Puncture is really bad against shields, especially at really high level. And if you're doing the sortie, you're going to notice this thing start to fall off against shielded units very quickly. However, being a Puncture crit weapon, that makes it really good against Grenier. So if there's high-level Grenier you're going to fight, you definitely won't be disappointed taking this thing. So we've gone ahead and put Corrosive on here. That's good against some Grenier armor types. Radiation is another choice you can go with, but just, pay attention to whatever you're fighting and mod for that accordingly. Now, the last mod on this build here, we've chosen Hydraulic Crosshairs, and I've done this because with Hydraulic Crosshairs and a maxed out Prime Pistol Gambit, you can get up to 126% critical chance. That's going to allow you to get red crits fairly frequently. I think that's really good. I was using bladed rounds on this, and then I was looking through the wiki and checking out some of the stuff other people had done, and, they kind of made an argument for Hydraulic Crosshairs, and it made a lot of sense to me. The only problem with this mod, though, is you have to get a headshot, and the way this weapon works, it's got strange mechanics with the over-under, like left-right-hand firing thing, and it makes it really hard to get those consistent headshots all the time. But if you get used to the weapon and you're going to be using it a lot, I think this is definitely the mod to go with. If you don't have Hydraulic Crosshairs or a Bladed Rounds is going to give you some really consistent critical damage. It's going to give you higher crit damage. But you're not going to get those red crits, and I think the red crits is actually going to give you more damage overall. So I've tested these both a lot. I still can't really decide which one I like more, but I'm going to just go ahead and go with Hydraulic Crosshairs. I'd like to know what you guys have to say about this, so let me know in the comments what you guys think is a better choice. If you don't have Hydraulic Crosshairs, if the event hasn't come to you yet, or you missed these mods, going with a third Elemental is not a bad choice. It's just you're gonna get less damage, but anything you do at this point anyway with 4 Forma on the weapon is gonna pretty much be overkill anyway. I just like to have the most optimal build as I can. So, taking a look at the stats here, we have 100% accuracy, which is kind of a lie. That's a little bit of an arbitrary stat because of the way the weapon fires. It's just kind of weird. Really high critical chance. Now, when the weapon shipped, when it was released, we did have a lot lower critical chance than this. This critical chance was actually lower than the regular Spira, which is really disappointing. So they went ahead and fixed, they buffed both the critical multiplier and the critical chance, which is really nice. Pretty slow fire rate for a throwing weapon. Increased magazine size over the regular Spira at 12 rounds. It is silent, and we have a really fast reload at under a second. Status chance is pretty low, 25%. That's not super low, but all this multi-shot here is going to inflate that, so that's not real status chance, I guess you could say. Low impact damage, low slash damage. Like I said before, most of our damage is going to come from puncture, and then we got our elemental damage down here. So we've taken a look at the build. We've shown the stats, everything like that. Let me go ahead and show you guys how this build works in a controlled environment. For this exercise here, we're going to use some tougher enemies just because I want to demonstrate this weapon in use against its intended targets, which are very highly armored. So I am going to show us two different things here. This first one is the hydraulic crosshairs. And you're going to notice that as we start getting headshots, after our first one, we're going to start getting those red crits, and it's going to make it very easy for us to chew through these guys. Take them right out. They've got really high armor. They're really tough. If you guys have fought really high-level corrupted gunners, you know that they're very difficult to kill. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you guys was the sharpened bullets and how that kind of works in basically the same situation. All right, we're coming in on these enemies again here, and I want you guys to notice how much tougher it is to actually take this first enemy down. And that's the biggest problem with sharpened bullets, is you actually have to kill something in order for it to proc. With hydraulic crosshairs, all you need to do is get a headshot and you start getting those red crits. But with this, you actually have to kill something to get that increased damage, and when you're fighting a squad full of these guys, that can actually be really difficult sometimes. So I choose hydraulic crosshairs over sharpened bullets because it's more consistent and easier to get to critical chance, which gives us that red crit, which gives us the extra damage that we need to kind of take enemies out. I feel like it's the better choice, but guys, I really appreciate you watching this video. I hope you learned a lot by watching, and as always, you can find a text write-up and image of this build on BouseFeenux.com. Just remember that if you go there to turn off ad block, because that really hurts my content. Also know that I always try to test these builds as much as I possibly can, but I am human and miss some things, and it's because of that I appreciate your guys' feedback in the comments section whenever you guys talk about different builds and in better ways things can be optimized. So I really appreciate you guys watching, and I can't wait to see you at the next one. Have a good night.